Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, and the show just ended. Oh my god. What the fuck kind of show did we watch tonight? This show was absolutely fucking awful. If you thought Monday Night Raw on Monday was awful, Dynamite was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. You know, after coming off of AEW Dynasty on Sunday, which was a good show, really enjoyed it, and we get to Dynamite tonight, and it's like, what the fuck happened? Like, seriously. This company, I don't even know. This company is in shambles right now. This terrible booking. And, you know, the audio tonight, throughout the 2 hours of the show, was terrible. It sounded like a wind tunnel with the audio. And you had Serena Deeb, you know, return tonight, and I couldn't even understand what the fuck she was saying because of the horrible audio. I don't even know what was up tonight, you know, with Dynamite. Horrendous show, awful audio. God. But tonight we had a AEW World Championship Eliminator match. Swerve Strickland versus Kyle Fletcher. We had Mina Shirakawa, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's from Stardom, and she had taken on Anna Jay. We had a Casino Gauntlet match where the winner will get to face Roderick Strong for the International Championship at Double or Nothing. And in the main event, we had the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Jon Moxley defend the title against Powerhouse Will Hobbs. And I'm like, this is AEW. Why wasn't Swerve Strickland versus Kyle Fletcher the main event? And the main event was a non-AEW title. It's a New Japan title. The IWGP title. World Heavyweight title. God. Oh, man. Awful Dynamite tonight. Absolutely terrible. But before I get into the Dynamite review, just want to give my thoughts on AEW Dynasty, which was, you know, this past Sunday. And I thought it was a good show. You know, St. Louis crowd there I thought was, you know, pretty good. They made noise throughout the show. Had a good card. You know, you had, Kazuchika Okada versus Pac for the Continental Championship, which I thought was a decent match there. You had the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews versus Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe in a trios match, which I thought was, you know, a good trios match there. You know, the House of Black end up coming out, you know, winning the match. You had Will Nightingale versus Julia Hart for the TBS Championship in a House Rules match, which I thought the match was okay, in my opinion. And yeah, Will Nightingale ended up winning the match, so she is the new TBS champion. And, you know, that match, Sky Blue and Chris Statlander were barred from ringside, so Nightingale and Julia Hart end up going at it one-on-one. Yeah, Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly, which I thought was very good. You know, two former, you know, Undisputed Era guys, you know, going at it. You know, they put on a really good match. You could tell that they, you know each other's moves, and they worked really well. And this was for the International Championship, which Roderick Strong ended up winning. Yeah, Chris Jericho versus Hook in a FTW rules match for the FTW Championship, which I thought was just very meh, in my opinion. But in the end, Chris Jericho ended up coming out with the win. Jericho is now the FTW champion, and he is calling himself the Learning Tree. So this is Jericho's new gimmick now. Call himself the Learning Tree. Then you had Timeless Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship, which I thought was a good match here. I thought this was Toni Storm's, second best match in AEW, and it was just back and forth between the both of them. Really good wrestling from Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa here, but in the end, Toni Storm ended up coming out with the win, retaining the AEW Women's World Championship. And then, what was the best match of the night, in my opinion? Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. Really enjoyed this match. The crowd was so into this match. Ospreay and Bryan, both really good in the ring. The wrestling was good from both of them. Just back and forth, between them. And Ospreay ended up coming out with the win. At the end of the match, he had the doctors and officials come out to check on Bryan. But overall, very good match it was, and was the match of the night, in my opinion. Then you had the Young Bucks versus FTR. This was a ladder match for the vacant World Tag Team Championship. And I thought this was pretty good. Obviously, we all knew that the Young Bucks were going to win the titles. And that's basically what happened. The Bucks ended up winning the match. So they are the new World Tag Team Champions. And of course, the Elite now has all the gold. Okada has the Continental Championship, and the Bucks have the World Tag Team Championship. And of course, you had the main event where the World Championship was on the line. Samoa Joe defended the title against Swerve Strickland, which this was a good match. And in the end, Swerve ended up winning the match, and Swerve is the new AEW World Champion. And really glad that they pulled the trigger and gave Swerve the World Championship. I thought coming out of this match that Samoa Joe was going to retain the title, but I'm glad they gave it to Swerve. Swerve really deserved to hold the World Championship, and glad that AEW pulled the trigger and put the title on Swerve. So overall, AEW Dynasty, though, was a very good show on Sunday night. But anyways, let's jump right into the Dynamite review. Dynamite opened up tonight, and we saw footage from earlier in the day where the Elite end up arriving in the parking lot of Daly's place. Out of the car came the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas, the World Tag Team Champions. And then they were joined by Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker. Of course, he's the Continental Champion. So then another car ended up arriving. And out of that car came out Jack Perry. To which I forgot to mention, Jack Perry ended up returning at AEW Dynasty to help the Bucks win the AEW World Tag Team Championship in the ladder match. So it was good to see Jack Perry, come back at Dynasty, and now, he's aligned with the Elite. So the Elite and Jack Perry were going into the Daly's place, and security tried to force Jack Perry away from entering the Daly's place. But the Bucks ended up telling security to leave Jack Perry alone. So then they end up heading into the Daily's place, and pretty much that was basically that. And then we head into Daily's place, and Orange Cassidy's music ended up hitting. So Orange Cassidy made his way out, only to be blindsided by Trent Beretta. So Trent Beretta stood on the attack on Orange Cassidy. He brought Orange Cassidy into the ring. Chuck Taylor, he was also out there. Trent Beretta ended up telling Chuck Taylor that it's time. So Trent then apologized to Chucky T for not doing this sooner. He ended up saying that Orange Cassidy was brought in as a mascot, and somehow he's been more popular than the Best Friends, than him and Chuck Taylor. So Trent Beretta then started running Orange Cassidy down. He ended up telling Chucky T to do the right thing and give the people what they want. So Trent ended up opening up for, an embrace for Chuck Taylor. So Chuck Taylor then ended up telling Trent Beretta that he always thought he was a piece of shit. So then Chucky T ended up attacking Trent with the mic. Trent then retreated from the ring, and Chuck Taylor ended up saying that he's still not cleared for a match in the ring, but he wants to fight Trent in the parking lot. So then Trent ended up refusing to answer. He retreated to the stage, and Chuck Taylor then ended up checking on Orange Cassidy, and pretty much, that was basically that. So I think Chuck Taylor is still going to align himself with Orange Cassidy, and I think it's going to be Chuck Taylor versus Trent Beretta first, and then it's going to be Trent versus Orange Cassidy. So that's how the way I see it going. But we are going to be seeing a parking lot fight between Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta this Saturday on Rampage after AEW Collision. So yeah, another 3 hours of AEW on Saturday night. Jeez. And then we went backstage, and we saw Jon Moxley, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So he ended up addressing the match setup for tonight against Powerhouse Will Hobbs. He ended up saying that he's aware of what's at stake and what awaits him with Powerhouse Hobbs and the Don Callis family. And he ended up saying, well, tonight's going to suck. Well, I guess, since Moxley ended up saying that, he knew that this show was going to suck tonight, to which he was right. So he ended up saying that he's ready to march through hell to defend the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He ended up saying that he will remind the world who he is. And when he takes the air out of Powerhouse Hobbs' lungs, they're going to feel it from Jacksonville to Japan. So that was what Moxley had to say, ahead of his match against Powerhouse Will Hobbs for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship later on in the night, which was the main event. And then we had the first match of the night, which was the AEW World Championship Eliminator match. Swerve Strickland versus Kyle Fletcher. And this was a decent match here. We had Swerve Strickland, the AEW World Champion. He had making his way out first. He was introduced by Prince Nana, of course. Of course, Prince Nana did his dance. So Swerve ended up coming out to a nice ovation from the crowd there in Jacksonville. And then we had Kyle Fletcher. He ended up coming out alongside Don Callis. Of course, Kyle Fletcher is the Ring of Honor World Television Champion. And the match ended up starting off we had Swerve and Fletcher end up having some words for each other. They then end up locking up. Kyle Fletcher had an early advantage on Swerve, but then Fletcher was quickly offset by Swerve. Fletcher ended up taking Swerve down to the canvas. Swerve ended up catching Fletcher with a hammerlock, but Fletcher ended up getting to the ropes to break the other hammerlock. So both Swerve and Fletcher were back on their feet. Fletcher ended up trapping Swerve, and Swerve ended up getting back to his feet. And we had a little standoff between both Swerve and Fletcher. Swerve ended up catching Fletcher with a drop kick, which sent him into the corner. So we had Fletcher ended up turning things around. He ended up sending Swerve into the apron. He then ended up knocking Swerve to the outside. Fletcher ended up going out of the ring to follow Swerve, but Fletcher was distracted by Prince Nana, which gave Swerve the advantage to hit a back body drop to Fletcher on the floor. So Swerve then jumped onto the apron. He ended up landing a kick to Fletcher's face, and then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Fletcher was fighting back to his feet for some kicks to Swerve. Swerve ended up managing to take Fletcher right back down to the canvas, and he ended up going for the kill shot, but Fletcher ended up fighting that off. Fletcher ended up getting to his feet. Swerve ended up breaking the wrist hold to hit the ropes, but Fletcher ended up catching Swerve with a drop kick. And then we saw the Elite and Jack Perry. They ended up entering Tony Khan's office. So we all want to know what this is all about. So we saw all that. And then Swerve ended up taking Fletcher to the apron. He ended up heading up top. He connected with a Swerve Stomp that drilled Fletcher against the apron. So we had Swerve ended up taking a breather on the outside. He ended up sending Fletcher back in the ring. And Swerve was sent up for the house call, but Fletcher ended up catching Swerve in an ankle lock. Swerve was struggling to fight out of the ankle lock, but he eventually countered out of the ankle lock. But Kyle Fletcher ended up managing to get right back on locking in the ankle lock on Swerve. So Swerve ended up getting to the ropes to break up the ankle lock. Fletcher ended up bringing Swerve back to his feet, but Swerve ended up fighting through. He ended up rolling in for a kick to Fletcher's jaw, and Swerve ended up following up with a brainbuster. Swerve ended up going for the cover, and Fletcher ended up kicking out. Swerve ended up going for the Tombstone Piledriver on Fletcher, but it got reversed, only for Swerve to counter into another Piledriver, but Fletcher ended up connecting with a Piledriver of his own to Swerve. So Fletcher ended up going for the cover. Swerve ended up kicking out. So we had Swerve end up fighting Fletcher from the corner. Swerve ended up hitting the Swerve Stomp on Fletcher. He ended up going for the cover. And Fletcher ended up kicking out. So Swerve then ended up connecting with the house call to Fletcher. He ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Swerve Strickland ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent match here. Fletcher and Swerve, they did good here. The wrestling was good from both these guys. And, Swerve won the match coming off his match with Samoa Joe at AEW Dynasty. This was, good for him. And then we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was backstage. She was interviewing Thunder Rosa. And she was talking to Thunder Rosa about her coming up just short of winning the AEW Women's World Championship at AEW Dynasty. So Thunder Rosa brought up Deonna Purrazzo. And she started to address things. And Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, ended up coming over there. So this led to a shoving contest between Deonna and Thunder Rosa. So security ended up intervening between the both of them, and that was that. But we're gonna see Deonna versus Thunder Rosa this Saturday on Rampage. So the match was made official, later on Dynamite. That's gonna take place on Rampage. And then we had Anna Jay versus Mina Shirakawa. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. Mina Shirakawa. She is from Stardom. And Mina Shirakawa ended up coming out first. She was accompanied by Mariah May. And, they're really good friends. They were a part of, Mariah May was a part of Stardom before she signed with AEW. And Anna Jay ended up coming out last. So the match started off with both Anna Jay and Mina end up teasing a lockup, and Anna Jay ended up getting the upper hand on Mina. Mina ended up turning things around. She ended up slamming Anna Jay to the canvas. Mina ended up going after Anna Jay's leg, but she was then kicked away by Anna Jay. So Mina ended up going for the cover on Anna Jay, and Anna Jay ended up kicking out. Mina then ended up catching Anna Jay with a head scissors, which was transitioned into a Russian leg sweep. Mina continued to go after Anna's leg, and Mina ended up going for the figure four on Anna Jay, and Anna Jay ended up getting to the ropes to break up the figure four. Anna then ended up hanging up Mina on the top rope, and she was staring down Mariah May, and we had Anna Jay end up going for the cover, and Mina ended up kicking out. And then Dynamite, went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from commercial, we saw Mina find out of a full Nelson, which was locked in by Anna Jay during the commercial, during the picture-in-picture. And this led to a trading of strikes between both Mina and Anna. Mina then ended up knocking Anna Jay down twice. Anna Jay was in the corner as Mina ended up going to charge at Anna Jay, but Anna Jay started fighting back. Mina then ended up hitting a knee strike from the top rope to Anna Jay. Mina ended up going for the cover, and Anna Jay ended up kicking out. Anna Jay then ended up hitting the J kick to Mina, and she ended up going for the cover, and Mina ended up kicking out. So Mina started fighting back with a dragon screw to Anna Jay, and then she cinched in the figure four back on Anna Jay. But Anna Jay ended up scrambling to the ropes for the break, so she ended up breaking up the figure four once again. So Mina ended up going up top. She ended up taking Anna Jay down with a missile drop kick, and she followed that up with an enziguri. So Mina ended up going for the cover. Anna Jay kicked out. So Mina ended up bringing Anna Jay back to her feet for the glamorous driver, but Anna Jay ended up reversing that into the Queen Slayer. Mariah May then ended up managing to distract Anna Jay for Mina to cradle Anna Jay with the Glamorous Collection, to which she ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Mina Shirakawa ended up winning the match. So Mariah May ended up coming into the ring to celebrate with Mina. Mariah May had some champagne, and the celebration was cut short because Anna Jay ended up locking Mariah May in the Queen Slayer. And then Timeless Toni Storm ended up coming out. She ended up taking off her heels. She ran barefoot into the ring to save Mariah May. So Anna Jay ended up escaping as Toni Storm ended up checking in on Mariah May. And then Serena Deeb ended up coming out to the stage. And Serena Deeb, ended up returning. It was good to see Serena Deeb back. We all missed, Serena Deeb. So Serena Deeb ended up looking at the AEW Women's World Championship. She then made a statement to which I couldn't hear what the hell she was saying because the audio was so fucking terrible. But I guess she's going to be the next to face Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. So that should be possibly happening at Double or Nothing. I think, at Double or Nothing, we're going to get Serena D versus Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. And then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander. They both were in the ring to celebrate Will Nightingale winning the TBS Championship. You had balloons in the corners of the ring. So Stokely and Chris Statlander end up paying their compliments to Will Nightingale as a new TBS champion. So Will Nightingale ended up coming out to the ring, and Caprice Coleman was on commentary, and Nightingale ended up entering the ring. Stokely Hathaway ended up addressing how he felt about Will Nightingale initially, and he ended up talking about how proud he is of Will Nightingale winning the TBS Championship. So Willow got on the mic. She ended up talking about being in the crowd in the spring of 2020, trying to catch a break. She ended up saying that in 2022 she was in this ring as they announced her as All Elite. She ended up saying tonight she is the face of TBS. So this brought out the CEO, Mercedes Moné. Mercedes Moné ended up having to say something about this, and she ended up getting on the mic. Mercedes ended up telling Jacksonville to say hello to their CEO. So Willow ended up stopping Mercedes, saying that if she has something to say, now is the time to say it. So Mercedes then ended up saying that she's here to congratulate Will Nightingale, and that she should enjoy her time as the TBS champion. To which Mercedes ended up telling her that at Double or Nothing, the CEO will be holding the TBS championship. She ended up saying more than anything, she wants to know if Willow attacked her a few weeks back. So this got cut off by Will Nightingale, wanting to know if Mercedes is blaming her for the injury last year. So Mercedes started running down Will Nightingale. She ended up saying that she doesn't think Willow wants to know the answer to that. So Willow then addressed the doubts that she had following the match in New Japan last year. But there are doubts about being the TBS champion. Willow ended up saying that she wants Mercedes to be 100% so that she can prove she can beat Mercedes. But Mercedes ended up insisting that Willow is no match for the CEO. So Mercedes then turned away. Chris Statlander ended up grabbing her, and this led to Mercedes slapping Will Nightingale. So we had Mercedes end up, getting out of the ring. Officials end up rushing in to break things up, and pretty much that was basically that. Overall, this was a meh segment here, and I'm already tired of Mercedes Moné. Really am. She debuts, and they have done nothing with her. She's just a walk-in entrance, with CEO, CEO, CEO. That's all she is as of now. I'm already tired of Mercedes until she gets into the ring and has her first match in AEW, which is going to be at Double or Nothing. So then we went backstage, and we saw Alex Marvez. Alex Marvez was talking to the Elite, trying to get the scoop on Jack Perry's status in AEW. And the status on Jack Perry is, if you remember, Jack Perry was, I think, in New Japan, and he tore up the, his AEW contract. So this is pretty much, revolved around that. So Nicholas didn't respond to Alex Marvez about Jack Perry's status. Even Okada didn't even, mention about Jack Perry's status to Alex Marvez. The only one that actually responded to this was Matthew Jackson. He kept confirming that Tony Khan has agreed to meet Jack Perry inside the ring later on in the night. So that was that. And then we had the Casino Gauntlet Match. Whoever wins will get to face Roderick Strong for the International Championship at Double or Nothing. So we had Jay White end up making his way to the ring. He's the first entrant in the Gauntlet match. The second entrant was Dante Martin. And so Jay White and Dante Martin end up going at it here. So both Jay White and Dante Martin end up blocking up. They would trade strikes. We had both Jay White and Dante Martin end up spilling out to the floor. And the next participant ended up coming out in this Casino Gauntlet match. And it was Penta El Zero Miedo. So Penta came down. Penta ended up taking down Dante, sending him into the corner. Dante started fighting back. And then Dynamite went to commercial. So during the picture-in-picture, Penta was in control. He ended up taking Dante into the ropes. Jay White ended up cutting him off. But Penta ended up taking Jay White down. So then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, the next participant was Kyle O'Reilly. So Kyle O'Reilly ended up coming down. And, he's trying to earn another shot at the International Championship since, he ended up losing at Dynasty. So Kyle O'Reilly ended up going after Dante, Penta, and Jay White in the ring. And they would, taking each down, and then Jay ended up getting back to his feet. Kyle O'Reilly ended up catching Jay with a cross arm breaker. Jay ended up fighting out of it, but he was caught with a leg hook. He ended up grabbing the ropes for, the leg hook to break. So then Will Ospreay was the next participant in this gauntlet match. And Will Ospreay got a big ovation from the crowd. Will Ospreay ended up rushing to the ring. He had a stare down at Kyle O'Reilly. So Ospreay and O'Reilly, they were trading strikes to each other. Ospreay ended up catching O'Reilly with a springboard attack. Penta and Dante were fought off, and he ended up getting caught from behind by Jay White. So we had Jay end up escaping the ring, and Dante end up ending that with a Spanish fly. So Lance Archer ended up coming out to the ring, and Lance Archer ended up staring down Ospreay. He ended up laying Ospreay out with a vicious forearm. Archer then ended up taking Dante out, which was followed up by Penta with a choke slam. So Kyle O'Reilly ended up stopping things by getting the guillotine on Archer. Archer ended up breaking it up. He ended up sending O'Reilly out of the ring. Archer then ended up grabbing Ospreay, and he ended up hitting a blackout that sent to the outside. And then we had, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Commander made his way out. So Archer was on the apron. He was looking to go for a powerbomb on Commander, but Commander ended up sending Archer flying through the tables on the floor, to which Archer ended up going through one of the tables. And then Jay Lethal ended up coming out. He was the last entry in the gauntlet match. Jay Lethal ended up going after Ospreay, and they ended up going at it. Kyle O'Reilly ended up intervening, and he was taken down before Ospreay, was looking to go for the Tiger Driver 91. So Commander, at the end of the match, he ended up going for a near fall, but it got broken up with the hidden blade on, from Ospreay. So Ospreay ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Will Ospreay ended up winning the match. So Will Ospreay is challenging Roderick Strong at Double or Nothing for the International Championship. So post-match, we had the Undisputed Kingdom end up coming out. Roderick Strong ended up staring down Will Ospreay, and pretty much that was basically that. Overall, this was just meh, in my opinion. Obviously, I knew Will Ospreay was going to win the match, get a shot at the International Championship. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho. He ended up making his way to the ring, and it looks like he had a new theme for himself. So Jericho ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying hello to everyone in Jacksonville. He ended up talking about how FTW will now stand for the world. He ended up saying as this title is all about the people. So Jericho then talked about how he's doing God's work. And by that, he means the God of professional wrestling, Terry Funk. So Jericho ended up thanking the fans, and then he ended up thanking Hook for being a great champion. Except that he still needs to take things away from the Learning Tree. Yeah, Jericho ended up saying that Hook was a great champion, a great FTW champion. But AEW doesn't acknowledge the FTW championship. Yes, it was defended here and there, but not all the time. So now that Jericho has won the FTW championship from Hook, are they now going to acknowledge the title? So Jericho ended up saying that Hook needs to cut the dead weight around him, like Taz and Shibata, and that he needs to listen to him when he tells him to stay down. Jericho ended up saying that Hook forced him to hit the former champion with a baseball bat, but that's on him. Jericho ended up saying that he knows Hook is sitting at home thinking about these lessons, and that it's good. He ended up saying that there are so many people that came out better from the lessons of the Learning Tree. So that led to Big Bill making his way out. So Big Bill got into the ring, he got on the mic, he ended up saying that he's been listening to Jericho in the back, and he only has one thing to say. And Big Bill ended up saying that he needs the guidance of the Learning Tree. He ended up saying that everyone knows Jericho is the Socrates of pro wrestling, always willing to help younger and less experienced talent and building them up. He ended up saying that he knows there is a long line of guys looking to be part of the Learning Tree, but there is nobody bigger than him, and nobody better fit to learn from the Learning Tree. So he ended up saying, deep down, Jericho knows that he is the best fit for the Learning Tree. Jericho knows Big Bill is the best fit. So Jericho ended up saying that he's going to keep an eye on Big Bill. And Jericho ended up saying that he'll watch Big Bill and he'll watch all the fans. And they end up celebrating, and that was pretty much basically that. And this I thought was awful, in my opinion. When Big Bill came out, I'm like, oh, please don't tell me that Big Bill is going to face Jericho for the FTW Championship. But, Big Bill, coming out there, saying that he needs the guidance of Jericho. So, that was that. Maybe this could lead to Jericho, possibly forming another faction. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. And then we had Don Callis. Don Callis was backstage. He congratulated Will Ospreay on earning a shot at the International Championship. And this quickly turned into an argument over Ospreay refusing to use the Tiger Driver 91. So that was that. Main event: Jon Moxley versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. This was for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and this was just a very meh match here. Obviously, we all knew in the outcome who was going to win it. If you said Powerhouse Will Hobbs, you are wrong. So Hobbs looked to get the early advantage on Moxley. He ended up keeping Moxley at bay, and then Moxley ended up catching Hobbs with a rear choke, and we had Hobbs end up sending Moxley into the corner. Mox ended up taking the fight back to Hobbs, and he ended up getting thrown down to the canvas by Hobbs. Moxley ended up leaving the ring. Hobbs ended up pursuing him, and Mox came back at Hobbs with some strikes. So Moxley ended up sending Hobbs into the barricade, and he was wearing Hobbs down, and they ended up going through the crowd. So, of course, this is IWGP rules that came into play, so they could go, out of the ring and around the arena. So we had Hobbs and send Moxley into the ring, and then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Hobbs ended up getting caught by Moxley. He ended up going for the cutter, and Moxley ended up getting slammed by Hobbs instead. Hobbs ended up sending Moxley into the corner, but Moxley ended up evading Hobbs. Hobbs then ended up crashing into the corner hard. So Hobbs was favoring his knee as, after he ended up crashing into the corner hard. He then left the ring. Moxley ended up briefly going on the attack, and he ended up crashing into the barricade as, the ref was checking on Hobbs. Hobbs made it back in the ring, and he looked very wobbly because of his injured knee as he went hard into the turnbuckle, into the corner. So Moxley ended up going back on Hobbs, delivering some punches to him. Hobbs was struggling to defend himself as Moxley ended up delivering a DDT to Hobbs. He ended up going for the cover, and Hobbs ended up kicking out. So Moxley ended up transitioning that into the Bulldog choke. Hobbs looked like he was fading fast. Moxley still had the Bulldog choke locked in on Hobbs, and Hobbs was out, and there you go. Jon Moxley ended up winning the match, retaining the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But overall, just a very meh match it was. We all knew who was going to win the match in the end, and Hobbs ends up taking another L. When was the last time Hobbs ended up winning the match? I can't even remember. Hobbs is on a losing streak, which he shouldn't. Hobbs deserves better. So post-match, Moxley ended up celebrating, and Konosuke Takeshita ended up stepping onto the stage. And this looked like maybe that Takeshita is interested in a shot at the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So it looks like it's going to be Moxley versus Takeshita for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship whenever, that happens. And then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was at ringside. He was in the ring, and he welcomed Jack Perry out. So the crowd was cheering Jack Perry. They had a little appreciation for him. So we had Jack Perry end up getting on the mic. He ended up saying that he's had some of the best moments of his life right here in Jacksonville. he ended up saying that tonight he has some business to handle. He ended up saying that he has business to handle right here with Tony Khan. So Jack Perry ended up calling out Tony Khan. Tony Khan came out. He made his way out. And the crowd was chanting, "He's our scapegoat." Tony Khan then entered the ring. And Jack Perry ended up addressing, how AEW has grown. And Tony Khan, the way how he looked here, he looked awfully scared here. He had that terror look on his face. So Jack Perry ended up saying that him and Tony Khan have not seen eye to eye. He ended up saying to Tony Khan from the bottom of his heart, he wants him to know he's only had AEW's best interest in mind. So he ended up asking Tony Khan to shake his hand, let us move on, and let's change the world together. So pretty much, Jack Perry was apologizing to Tony Khan about, him tearing up his AEW contract. So pretty much Tony Khan and Jack Perry both shook hands, and they ended up hugging each other. We saw this sly smirk on Jack Perry's face. So Jack Perry then raised Tony Khan's hand, and then Jack Perry ended up laying out Tony Khan with a punch, which I laughed at. If that is not a meme online, I don't know how people will miss out on that. I mean, it was hilarious when Jack Perry ended up punching Tony Khan. Tony Khan, him selling that punch, I just laughed at it. He just was like, he didn't even sell it. So we had the Elite, we had Matthew Nicholas Jackson and Okada. They ended up rushing into the ring to check on Tony Khan, and they ended up shoving Jack Perry away. Okada was keeping Perry in the corner, and they were trying to help up Tony Khan, the Bucks and Okada, and Okada ended up giving the thumbs up to lay out Tony Khan, and Matthew ended up hitting the scoop slam on Tony Khan, and he ended up setting up Tony Khan for the for the Tony Khan driver, and that may get renamed, after this. So they end up laying out Tony Khan, and officials end up rushing to the ring to get the Elite away. And we had, the Bucks end up mockingly thanking the Jacksonville crowd for being in attendance. And we had the roster end up rushing out to check on Tony Khan. All the jobbers, came out. You had Tony Khan's father out there, shocked at what happened. And that was pretty much how Dynamite went off the air. But, I feel like they're doing the whole Austin McMahon thing here. They're going to do this with Jack Perry and Tony Khan. It's going to be Austin McMahon here. But overall, this ending was so bad, it was hilarious. And like I said, if this is not a meme with Jack Perry punching Tony Khan, I don't know, what the people on the internet, are doing. This should be a meme. So, and I'm just waiting for it. Somebody out there, better create that as a meme. Well, overall, just Dynamite tonight, absolutely awful show, horrendous. Coming off AEW Dynasty and going to this, what a big drop. What a big drop in quality. What is going on with AEW? But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all on Friday for SmackDown. So, see you then.